Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This episode is brought to you by elricshobbies.com. This is The Long War, and I'm Kenny Boucher, and tonight I'm joined by Stephen Four and Mike Haspel.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, eternal shiny and chrome as always.
I want to thank and welcome Juice back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long couple weeks, and back in action. So super excited about it.
Yeah.
What else? What else have you guys been up to while I've been gone? We broke down in the webcast tonight a little bit of what's going on Space Marine wise, aka new flyers, whatever else. So I'm super excited for this next hour to reacclimate myself to what's been going on.
A lot has happened, and I will recap, obviously, what we've been talking about and, obviously the table of contents of the show. The name of the show is going to be New Flyers. Does the game need new rules? We're obviously going to talk about the new Space Marine Flyers and the rumors that are coming out here in the meat and potatoes of the episode. But before we get back to that, we're going to have a tabletop marketplace, some exciting Age of Sigmar and Battlefield Gothic news. We're going to have an exciting webcast recap, world famous for Mike Haspel. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the new promotion. We're going to be bringing the dice bags back, the legendary infinite item pouches of legendary gangster holding, aka the Long War dice pouch. And I heard that that's not all.
Nah, come to find out, it actually comes with an unlimited amount of supply bits, with a fat sack of bits paired with the infinite bag of holding.
So you're talking about the legendary fat sack of bits by Spikey Bits is paired with the infinite bag of holding by the Long War. So you're telling me we're going to be putting how infinite the space inside these bags, the Time Lord technology in play is?
Yes, if it's basically the epitome of the best two forever.
That makes me happy. And there is a URL. People can already go on Spikey Bits and find it right now, right?
Yes, that is spikybits.com/Kickstarter.
That simple. And there'll obviously be an easier to find link here soon, but for you hardcore fans, that's how you get to it right now. spikybits.com/Kickstarter. And obviously we have a new sponsor, elricshobbies.com. We'll talk about them a little bit more detail as we get to the commercial break. These guys are epic dice makers. We need more people in the community like them. But anyway, why don't we start this thing off with an epic tabletop marketplace, Mike Haspel.
And I was muted.
Classic Rob there.
To be honest, I couldn't imagine anything any better of an intro than that right there. It's like let's channel Robbie B.
He's actually taking a break this evening because he's actually fulfilling his epic obligations to his patrons over on Patreon.com. So anyone who's wondering where he's at, he's sitting in his Beats laboratory with his cats, clipping 1 billion bits to fulfill his orders next month.
And
Nice.
before we mess that up, that is spikybits.com/Kickstarter.
Oh, yep.
/ not backslash. I apologize, everybody.
Yep, it's the slash that internets use. Anyway, Haspel, take it away.
Yeah. So on Tabletop Marketplace, we've got a couple. Just some things are not really new. Battlefield Gothic went gold last week. And so it is no longer in beta. And if you guys like the original remotely, I would highly encourage you to get it. It's in my opinion, it's one of the best 40k games to come out since the original Dawn of War. Because I was not a big fan of Dawn of War 2, but Dawn of War 1, I mean, is my favorite 40k game ever. I still play it. And Battlefield Gothic, it's a really good. They've captured the spirit of the tabletop game in just a really good way, and it's hard. It is not easy. Like, if you just think you're going to jump in and, I'm going to blast away at stuff and everything, you're going to lose.
So Haspel, I don't mean to interrupt, but like comparing it to the new Star Wars, it's not like as simple as kind of that is if you don't take it as competitive?
You mean like the Battlefront?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. And as far as I know, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit hard right now to like do like 2v2 matchups and stuff like that. You can do 1v1, and I've lost quite a bit of games like that. Just like, oh man, I'm just gonna figure this out. Why is my guy blowing up? Like that is literally what happens. I'm just like, oh, why is my captain? Why does my commissar have to shoot my captain? Because he's trying to do a warp jump away. Like it's really very, very cool. But
dude, I can't tell you how amazing. Like I've been just like looking at all the new trailers. The Eldar trailer dropped, and it was so intense. You know, I watched the original flagship, you know, like Imperial Navy trailer where they set up that trap against chaos, and like when Abaddon comes through on the mic and he's like, "Oh, you know, worshippers of the false corpse god," he's like, "Let the galaxy burn. Your last stand will fail." I was like, "Yep, that's my boy." Tear, single tear rolling down my cheek.
Yeah, so it's a really a lot of fun. And then last week also saw another company announce a different Battlefleet Gothic game, and I think that one is called Battlefleet Gothic Leviathan, and that one will be a straight up port. You know how they did Blood Bowl, where it's basically the board game with dice rolls and everything. That's what Battlefleet Gothic Leviathan is going to be.
Are you talking about Fumble, like that online game? Or
no, I'm talking about the actual like Blood Bowl game you can get on
Steam. Like on Xbox and Steam. Oh yeah, no doubt. David was big into that. David was like world ranked on Xbox for a long time.
Yeah, and it's a solid port of the game. There was a little bit of balance issues, and right now Battlefleet Gothic Armada, which is the one I was talking about first, which is kind of an RTS. It's not turn-based like the tabletop. That one probably has some balance issues that they're going to need to figure out, and they are going to come out with expansion fleets. The next fleet, I guess, is the Space Marine fleet.
So you play with the Imperial Navy right now? Is that your jam?
I play Imperial Navy, yeah. And it's a lot of fun. But this like Battlefleet Gothic Leviathan is, I mean, the name is a big hint. It's going to have NIDS. So that's kind of interesting. But it will be a straight up port of the board game. So same rules as the board game with dice and everything like that. And they are targeting the kind of phone mobile market, you know, the tablet kind of phone market, and I'm really hoping they release it for PC as well, because Deathwatch they had out for phones and tablets, which is a really good turn-based game. They wound up releasing a kind of HD version for Steam, and it's really good. You know, I enjoy playing it on Steam more than I don't play games on my iPad that much, except for that night game. I can't stop playing that night game. That's so much fun.
Well, that's what it makes me feel good knowing that the good guys are actually coming to the new Battlefleet Gothic coming up soon.
That's right.
Guys, yeah, the High Fleet has got to show up at some point.
Yeah, they're pure. They just want to eat. That's it. They're just hungry.
That's it. They're neutral. They're not even about those agendas. They're just culturally hungry, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other big news, obviously, is a fairly big shakeup with GW announcing that there will be a competitive version of Age of Sigmar, which includes points, which people have been screaming for since Age of Sigmar came out.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're talking, you know, there'll be 3 ways to play the game. The regular just kind of pick up game, bring what you got, and let's throw down. The scenario-based stuff for the folks that have been buying the campaign books, and those are pretty well balanced as they are, you know. And then there's going to be a new points-based system. So I'm kind of glad they decided to do that and not wait. Like with Lord of the Rings, they waited until the game was essentially gone to release Legions of Middle-earth, which allowed you to do, you know, just build like a points-based army. So it's I'm glad that they didn't wait that long, and I'm curious to see what they do with it. I know they're going to release like a book that has all the points costs and everything in it, and I'm hoping that they release that kind of for free online, just like all the War Scrolls were available for free. And then you can just buy the book. If you want the hard copy book, go down to your local...
Is it currently not free? Like they're trying to make you pay for everything right now?
Well, the campaign books are not free. You know, the big campaign books that you get they're just like an army book or a codex. You know, you buy it, and it has a large section of fluff and scenarios in there and everything like that. And they are hardcover, and they're really well put together books, but they're not free. The the actual rules are free, and all the war scrolls are free. You can just download them off GW. So I'm kind of hoping that they either incorporate the points into the war scrolls, which frankly could be a lot of work when you consider they'd have to re-upload all that stuff and everything, or just put out like Malifaux and some of the other game systems that are out now. They put out their rules for free, but if you want to buy the hardcover book, you obviously have to pay for it. And that works. So some people like just printing it out and going off a binder or something, and other people like me want that hardcover book, and I'll pay for it. So
yeah, I would much rather. I've always said that, like, give me give me a book in my hand. That's why it's always been tough for me still to this day to start throwing everything on my iPad and everything. Like, obviously it's easier, and if I'm just sitting around chilling at the house, but like, I really enjoy, always have, having that book in my hand, flipping through the pages instead of like thumbing through the pages.
We're of an older generation though. These newer kids, I imagine for them it's even easier to use an iPad. But I agree with you. Like, growing up and playing games my whole life, I'm just so used to a book and learning the book and referencing the book that it has also been a transition for me. Even at tournaments, even though I understand how easy having an iPad is at a tournament, I find it easier for me personally to still have my book.
Yeah, to be honest, like, I feel, I don't know, like, it's just so tough, and especially when we're at tournaments and things, like, I honestly feel whenever I go against an opponent and we have a rules debate, and the first thing that they do is grab an iPad and start, like, neck deep in the iPad, I'm like, it just, you know what I mean?
It feels like you're not engaged. It feels like you're just like, I got to take your word for everything. Even though I'm not saying you're a cheater, it just it takes away some of that element. Yeah, I completely agree.
It does really help for when I run tournaments. I definitely love the iPad because when a rules question does come up, it does have a search function. So if you don't know, you're like, well, what is this? You can just type it in the search function. It pops up. And that saves a ton of time.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it has a place. Not going to discredit that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just kind of it's definitely different. I like my iPad for scheming too. Like if I'm just thinking about something.
When you're laying in bed with the lights off, it's like awesome
exactly.
to scheme on an iPad.
It's perfect. But I'm a lot faster in attorney with my old school rule book and the physical codex.
Oh yeah, I'm a beast. I got the tiny Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marine one. EJ had picked up like the whole 6th edition codex set.
Oh, nice.
They were all the tiny hardback ones. Well, now they're all like outdated except for Chaos.
Yeah.
Like, they're all literally like old Imperial Knights, old Blood Angels, old Space Marines, old literally everything. And I'm like, the only 2 that are left. He's like, well, these are it. Chaos Space Marines only. I'm like, well, people see it all the time. They're like, where'd you get that? I was like, trust me, you don't want to know. How much money was spent on this book?
Yeah, I want you to know this has now made its way to being a $200+ book.
No doubt. So, Haspel, what do we have, though, on the legendary webcast recap?
All right. Yeah, we got a couple good questions here. We're going to start off with Lau Stevenson. He said he just ordered 4 Imperial Knights, and would we make 2 Paladins or 2 Wardens, and it's for a 1,500-point army of either 1 Errant with either 2 Paladins or Wardens.
So I would like to potentially throw my bid in with a third option, having 1 Errant and 3 Wardens. It's tough for me to give past the firepower. It's the firepower that's right down my alley. I love Strength 6 and higher. I love a lot of shots.
And AP 3/6 with rending.
And AP 3 with rending is literally everything I wish I could shoot all the time. So I love that. And, as Kenny alluded to earlier, like, I love the fact that there's so many times you've got a blast template, you've got something, and obviously you clear some guys out, right? But, like, the worst part of it is you got to shoot a blast template.
Blast templates become less effective with the more guys you kill, so you need some multi-shot options to clean out the squad, to convert.
Yeah, and, like, I really feel give me 12 Strength 6 shots to kill a squad of 10 Space Marines, especially AP3. I'll even go like, give me 12 AP3 shots or anything like that. Give me 12 strength 6 shots to kill Terminators, you know, with a 2-up save versus randomly clipping 4 dudes.
I mean, that pairs so well if you have one of the battle cannon guys and you're just like, pow, pow, 3 guys left, 4 guys left. Or they went to ground and got good cover, 4 guys left, 5 guys left. Now you hit them with the 12 shots, the nail in the coffin. And the good thing about these super heavies is they can shoot 2 different targets, still charge, you know, so I love that.
Yeah, and I feel like pairing the Wardens with other weapons, like the crack missile launchers, the Skyfire if you want, like I feel like you're getting the most bang for your buck, because you throw a Skyfire weapon on one of the battle cannon or the melter guns, you're like, well, I literally only have this weapon that can shoot something else. You know, like you can, if you feel like it, you can double down and every one of your weapons can shoot in the air.
I love that.
Every one of your weapons can shoot mass numbers.
The Gatling gun is obviously a crowd favorite, man. Like, you know, especially with the release of the new Renegade Knights from Chaos, having the ability to take custom knights essentially and being able to take twin Gatlings. I mean, that is like,
that's
so
amazing.
I actually, until you said that in the show and I wanted to like talk about it live, is I didn't realize that the Chaos Knights, now I know they're a little more expensive or this and this, or they get some negatives, but like they can choose their own fucking weapons.
They're literally the exact same profile, stats, and points of Imperial Knights.
But the only difference is you can customize. Like you're telling me I can shoot 24 strength 6 shots, AP3.
It starts at like the 325. Like you have Thunder Gauntlet, Reaper Sword, and then every weapon has a point cost to it that comes out to what you expected. They can even take the top weapons. For like 435, you have like a loaded down knight, just murdering people. And like we were talking about earlier, the whole blast template conundrum. Now you can have a double battle cannon on the left arm and a Gatling gun on the right arm, and just and do it for yourself, like pow, clear out a unit and finish it with your own Gatling gun, or which I think is one of my favorite tactical elements. But I definitely think double battle cannon's amazing because obviously 4 battle cannon templates from one knight. Battle cannon Gatling's amazing, and double Gatling's amazing. And you heard it here first. We're going to call it the Long War Strike Package. GW needs to make this into a detachment. We'll probably have to release rules for it ourselves. Chaos Space Marine faction formation. Double Gatling gun, Night Warden, Renegade Knight with 2 Helldrakes with Bale Flamers. How sick is that when the 2 Helldrakes come on, pop their Demon Forge, burn out 2 squads, leaving like 1 or 2 survivors each, and then the Gatling guns, you know, fire into both those targets to finish them off.
Yeah, that is absolutely unbelievable. Like I'm sitting here like, damn man, I want to start allying in a Chaos Knight with my guard army. You know, like I want to add in like that firepower. You get the firepower of 2 Titans in one, like Chaos Knight Titan with double gauntlets with my Hive Tyrants. Like,
yeah, what's dope about that is that I mean, first off, like he's only like 435, and your Hive Tyrants are about like 225.
240 is how I run them now.
So he's not even as expensive as 2 of them, and has definitely potentially more than twice the firepower, and he's got stomps, and he still has smash, so all of his close combat attacks are still strength 10 AP2, so he still like doesn't suck in close combat. He still goes in there with strength 10 AP2 attacks and stomps. Dude is a beast.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't mean to go off on this tangent for too long, but they have a 5-up invulnerable everywhere on all angles, right?
No, that's the Forge World Knight Titan. That one, it's a demon.
Oh, okay.
This is literally Renegade Knight Titan. As an ion shield, it's literally exactly
everything is the same.
Yeah, and it's a formation. It's like an Oathsworn detachment. It's a formation of up to 3 Renegade Knight Titans. So you literally can say, I'm taking Renegade Knight formation, and you can take up to 3 knights in your formation.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it is very cool. So the moral of that story is magnets are your friends.
All day or a day. I mean, more of the story is
do not glue your weapons on your Night Titans. You'll hate yourself in the morning.
Especially with the new box set. Go in there, buy that, get it from your local retailer, or buy it online for 20% off, and now you got 2 Night Titans for the price of 1 and 0.3.
Yeah.
And now you have all that.
That box set is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I picked it up, and I haven't had a chance to play the game because I've been working, but the game reminds me a lot of a little bit of Starfleet Battles with some BattleTech thrown in. And it looks like it plays pretty fast. Could be a lot of fun at like larger events if you use like those data sheets and just extrapolate. And, you know, why stop at just 2 nights? You know what I mean? Like just do like the Night Joust was very popular at LVO and at Adepticon. So I could see some variant rules showing up there using those data sheets or variants of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like there's a lot you can do, and to be honest, like some King of the Hill aspects. Like I'm actually thinking, Kenny, I'm thinking of as we know, the Beats Laboratory is going to be in full effect in the next about like 5 weeks. We're going to be jamming out videos and content and stuff, and I'm actually really thinking about doing some form of 5v5 Night Titans. Like literally everybody brings a Night Titan.
You want to hear what the cool thing too is about the Chaos Night Titans? Classic GW move here. They can't give Chaos a special rule that doesn't only help them. It has to also hurt them. So if you take the Renegade Knight formation, so if I take my 3 Knights versus your 3 Knights, my special rule is the moment I have 3 Renegade Knights, I gain preferred enemy against Imperial Knights, and they gain it against me.
I thought that was nice.
Classic GW.
That's what you get for being a traitor.
Wow.
Yeah. You know,
at least they're consistent.
I wanted to tell you, because you were talking about Beats Laboratory action. I was playing on my Beats Lab while falling asleep the other day, playing around with hilarious ideas. And I'm trying to find it. I think I have a list that's less than 1,500 points. I think it's like less than 1,400 points. And it is literally 3 Renegade Knights, all just double close combat weapons, right? Like literally all just 325 point knights, and the Rot Swarm detachment formation with 7 solo Beast and Nurgle. So it's literally like 1,385 points or something like that. So I'm like, yo, this would be like a clutch 1,500 point army where you have like a billion MSU elements, like literally just deep strike in, 7 Beast and Nurgle to take all the objectives while you run across the table with 3 of these Renegade Knights. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like 1,350 points. I'm like, damn, like you can do some fun stuff. And even like the new, since Juice wasn't here for the last episode, the Crimson Slaughter got obviously came out recently with some new detachments, and they all suck. And I don't know if you heard the episode.
Standard. I haven't yet.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard the episode where we also talked about Black Legion came out with their own supplements and detachments.
And they potentially did not suck because Black Legion is usually keeping us pretty good.
They got they got one Psyker Cabal, which is pretty good for Chaos, but nothing to a Librarius Conclave. But there is one formation. We did post it up on Facebook. You got to check it out. It's very thematic. I think it would be like a Renegade. I would call it like Renegade, Word Bearers, potentially Dark Mechanicum themed army. And one of the detachments you can take for the Crimson Slaughter is you take like the Dark Apostle, aka Chaplain, and he can take between 2 and 8 cultist squads in his formation. And as long as they're within like 18 inches of him, they get to bring D6 bodies back per movement phase. Like if you like pick off like 10 dudes out of one of my cultist squads, they get to bring D6 back. And also they get to use his leadership 10.
Yeah,
so
that's fresh.
That pairs with the Night Titans. You can do 3 Night Titans and literally 100 cultists and this guy for 1850.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, but you have to paint 100 cultists. So it's kind of its own punishment.
I mean, paint 100 cultists. Most Chaos Space Marine players have 70 to 80 cultists painted.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. Well,
so is there, how is that the wrap up for the webcast recap?
No, we've got a couple more. In fact, talking about our crazy list that started up a little bit of controversy, the unbeatable Death Star with the
Feel No Pain.
Yeah, with the Feel No Pain. Charles asks, do we really need St. Celestine for hit and run? Well, we can use our psychic power to teleport out. The old swap.
Q-Lux's assassin hiding in an Imperial bunker can stop you from displacing.
So the whole concept of why that is too is because the number one thing that's going to happen is everybody's rebuttal would say, "Oh, Collective Assassin will kill it. Collective Assassin will stop. Collective Assassin this." Like the Saint ain't no punk, right? And so like the Saint does what she does, but what I also love is breaking her off. Like Voltroning, especially at a time in which there's multiple times, like when I play Death Stars, it's like I like breaking off. I'll break off early, late, I'll peel elements off. And just sometimes, like, it's the same concept I have whenever I played the Brass Scorpion. Like, some people like to do all these buffs, this and this. I'm like, look, man, I'm paying this amount of points, and this thing is just it's gonna take it on the chin. It's gonna take some whole points. Ultimately, I'll start investing more abilities into it once it starts taking whole points, right? So that's kind of how I am with the Saint. It's like, if I don't need her necessarily in the beginning, she can go like solo some stuff.
She is probably one of the best. Like, people don't even talk about it. We talked about sleeper armies earlier today in the webcast. Saint Celestine for like 135 is one of the best individual units in Warhammer 40k. She has a faith point that lets her get back to her feet on a leadership 10 pass. So she gets one get out of jail free card. You can kill her one time and she gets back up. She has a whole bunch of strength 5 AP3 attacks. She has a flamer. She gives the unit hit and run at a really high initiative. She is, and ultimately she also brings an objective secure unit Rhino. This list that we put up online that took us 15 minutes to think about, everyone's like, oh, you have no staying power, you can't score. It's like, last time I checked, I had 5 objective secure Rhinos with units inside of them.
Yeah.
Like one of them was sisters. I was like, yo, there's literally nothing this army can't do. And obviously, Keelex's assassin, everyone thinks, oh, it'll shut it down. It's like, it doesn't turn off the 2-up Funeral Pains.
Yeah.
But you don't want to get trapped without a double contingency. Because think about a 3d6 hit and run, then a 12-inch move, and then you have all that distance to like reconnect with the shake and bake maneuver.
Ugh.
Yeah, and once your stuff goes down, like, I mean, that built-in redundancies is where you want to be at. And that's exactly, and you're getting stuff that you're going to want anyway. And you're talking like, what other points? So like, Kenny, how much is Sisters? Under 260?
I mean, it's 135 plus 60 plus 40. I mean, it's like it.
Yeah, so 230, right? So like 235. Like, I don't know what else you're telling me
that's going to benefit the army for that. I mean, like, you're just talking about more units. But here's the caveat though, because I don't know if Juice listened to the last episode. We put this list together and like literally live in 15 minutes to illustrate the problems with a non-hobby format, a non-bringing hobby back format. In 15 minutes of a new release, because GW can't be trusted to put out balanced rules, this list existed. And I'm talking 15 minutes. What about 16 minutes? What about 3 days? What about a month? What new abuse are people going to come up with in a month? This is what I put it out there simply to say this already exists. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're literally going to set up a cross from somebody playing this, and unless you have exactly the combo to beat it, I'm talking you have exactly the combination to beat it, you're about to enter into a game where if they go first, they're going to take all your units away from you. Or if you go first and you have like 1,000 shots per turn, it's going to be this arbitrary, like, I'm going to roll 1,000 dice, then you're going to roll 1,000 dice. You might take 1 wound, and then you charge me. Like, that's where the game is going without hobby scores. So we only put this list out there to show you, like, the only way you can start changing things is to not play things like this, and to also not play against things like this, not indulge people. You have to, like, take people's, you almost have to take the candy jar away from them. Like, you have to do this tough love. People start showing up a list like this, you just have to say, I'm not going to play you when you play a list like that, because you're contributing to the problems of the hobby. We need to reward people for other things than just having units that can't be hurt or tabling me. And this army does not fit into that category.
Church.
It's rough. And we're going to keep going with the sisters theme. So Clay Cruz asked, speaking of sisters, is there any way to run them without killing my bank account? And I know his pain. Other than eBay, if you try to buy a squad of 10 sisters, I think they're close to $90. The struggle is real. They hurt. eBay is probably your best friend, but their price on eBay is starting to creep up. So I do have some alternatives for Clay Cruz. The first one, and I don't think they are out yet. There's a website called Raging Heroes. They are coming out with their kind of a pseudo sisters army. They have a line of miniatures called the toughest girls in the galaxy, and they're incredible sculpts. Really, really nice. And I know that they're working on Sisters, but I have no idea when that stuff is actually going to be out. So it depends how patient you are, or impatient for that matter. But they are coming. And then the other thing I would suggest is a kind of a two-for conversion thing. Dreamforge Miniatures, Dreamforge Games, makes a kind of powered armored troop thing called the Eisenkern Valkyr. And if you take those bodies, take GW bolters, and then take the heroic scale female heads from Statuesque Miniatures, you got yourself some pretty good plastic sisters right there.
And the price point is less than $90 for 10?
By a lot. I'm looking here at the Valkyr, and I'm trying to see how many come in a box, but the box is like $22 for 5 Valkyr, so that's $40 for 10, and then the heroic scale heads are about 5 pounds, so $10. So for $50, you've got 10 sisters.
Yeah, that's definitely almost 50% off. I love it.
Yeah, so that's definitely a way to go, and the conversion is not a hard conversion. If you do a search for plastic
I love how you
scissors-
didn't count the bolter cost in there, because we all know we have a drawer full of bolters.
Yeah, exactly, man. Everyone's got a ton of bolters. So, and you can and honestly, the guns that the Valkyr Eisenkern models come with is fine. But if you just wanted it to look like, more like a GW model, throw the bolter on there instead, and it looks fantastic. If you do a search for Eisenkern Valkyr and Plastic Sisters of Battle, it'll bring you right to. There's a Bowles article. There's also I think it's on Warseer or something, a couple of threads where somebody was converting them up and had pictures of them, and they look great.
Sick.
They're very, very worthwhile. And then
mini spoiler: Mike Haspel is the one who's picking next year's 4-man team tournament.
Oh, we're really doing that?
Yeah, dude. We handed it to you.
Oh my God!
For being the biggest whiner all weekend about chaos. You get to pick the next year's army, and whoever's the biggest whiner next year gets to pick the next. Yeah,
and we're gonna lose even worse. It's gonna be bad because I'm leaning towards Inquisition, like Death Watch, Grey Knights, Sisters.
Well, you also get to make the list. That's the other rule. Like
Inquisition.
You get to make the list.
Oh my God! like 48 Jokero. There we go.
Word. We'll probably win more game with 48 Jokero than we did with our chaos.
The sadness. It did give me perspective on the pain of chaos. So I did feel that. And then we had wrapping it up with the webcast recap. We did have V1 Omega asking, that he doesn't want to play Imperials, but he's playing Iron Warriors now. And he goes, what army besides Imperials can he play MSU really well in a competitive environment? But he does not want to play an Imperial force. So that kind of makes things.
So no Imperials and no Chaos, because he said he was tired of Chaos too, right?
That's kind of implied, yeah. I mean, he had asked in one of the other questions, he was talking about using like Red Corsairs, which is Chaos, of course, with demons and some IG Air Force included.
I mean, Nurgle Rot Swarm is an amazing MSU army, but that's if you don't want to go Chaos. I think that. So we decided that Dark Eldar might be your only bet if you're talking about a non-Imperial, non-Chaos MSU army, and we think that Dark Eldar can win games in a battle points environment, but we don't think you're going to win a big tournament in a win-loss tournament with them as a solo army. Now, obviously, the second you ally an Eldar, anything like that, Dark Eldar can start winning a lot more games.
Yeah, and I would recommend Demons, because then you don't have to buy an entirely new army. You can just start phasing them in with Chaos, because Chaos with allied Demons is still really strong.
No doubt. Like I was telling you about the Rot Swarm earlier. I mean, like the Rot Swarm, 7 Beasts and Urgle and a Herald, there's like 400 points or something like that, man. It's like insane staying power MSU that can deep strike and all move 12 inches.
Yeah.
But before we hit this commercial break, let me bring up our sponsors one more time, elrixhobbies.com. These guys are official base makers. They make a lot of hobby add-ons. They got a sick website, obviously elrixhobbies.com. You can check out the interview we just did with them on YouTube. They're good friends. They're true hobbyists, true artists. We've known these guys for years. Please check them out. We might even have a promo code for you guys here coming in upcoming days. And with that, let's do a quick commercial break.
Dear veterans, quickly make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at dicehead.com have rewarded us all with an extra 6% discount on all dicehead.com merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy. Veterans, have you been by thelongwar.net lately? New spoils are piling up. Sign up at thelongwar.net and claim your code to unlock valuable discounts at your favorite wargaming stores. Our friends at kingshobbiesandgames.com have added to that horde. An additional 5% off their already low prices. Sign up for free. thelongwar.net. Dear veterans, quickly! Make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
And we're back. Time for the meats and the potatoes. Mike Haspel, what you got for us?
Yeah, so there's a new book coming out, which is like everything old is new again. If you remember Death from the Skies, that supplement that people played with for maybe like a week, and then like put it aside, like City Fight and Planetfall, they are re-releasing Death from the Skies, and it looks very promising. That there's some points that we obviously we're still dealing with rumors here and everything, but like for instance, the flyers are now going to get a combat role. So not all of them are going to have Skyfire anymore automatically. It'll be like, okay, some of them are bombers only, or air to ground, or CAS, close air support. So they won't have really a Skyfire.
There won't be like this one guy gets everything all the time.
Right.
Even though it's
what we don't know is whether or not that's going to be changed on a data sheet, or whether or not that's going to be changed in the actual like combat role that you take. And the parallel I use is like, well, you could take an F-16 as a platform or an F-18 as a platform, and you can give it an air-to-air role. You know what I mean? Where that's what it does. It's going to be flying, combat air patrol, and it just deals with other aircraft. Or you can take an F-16 or F-18, make it a fighter bomber, where it's not really concentrating on an counter air role because, other people don't have air. You have air superiority. So you're just going to be using it for close air support or bombing. So I'm curious to see what they have there.
So I apologize, Haspel. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's cool.
Because you were talking about like bombs and stuff like that, the bomber aspect. Like, I just wanted to touch on something before we got off of it. Is like, I'm actually just thinking up in my head like rules that can make bombers cool again. Because I don't know if you guys remember, like they've introduced things that like randomly do one bomb. Like, remember the Orc plane can buy individual bombs as kind of like an upgrade and this and this. Like, I don't think that they've ever done it successfully. But like, I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like, what kind of cool special ability could GW give them that would help you want to actually take a flyer that is a bomber? Like, what about this? What if a flyer that only interacts with bombing, you cannot look out, sir, a wound caused from a flyer that has the bomb special rule, or that is a bomber?
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Or like, you can't, it lays down, it utilizes whatever template it is, whether it be a flame template, like if it was like an Inferno kind of bomb or napalm or, something more like smaller, large blast template. But basically, it is the ultimate area effect, and like you cannot use Lookout Sir, or models have to be removed as a casualty from with underneath the template, not like outside of it. More like Barrage or that aspect, but like to the T, kind of a little overpowering. What do you guys think of that?
That is an awesome point. I would love to see something like that come into play, because I think Haspel, I think the rumor right now is that they're going to release 23 new data slates.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to get to that. They say
I
it
can't help
includes
but see
23
rules.
updated data sheets. So we were complaining on the webcast recap about the Dark Angels, that Dark Angels Strike Fighter.
The Nephilim Jet Fighter.
Yeah, so it could be getting new rules and actually be tight and
Well,
be
it makes
useful
sense.
again.
If it's
The model's gorgeous.
23 updated data slates, sounds awfully suspicious when you consider that in a recent article on Spikey Bits, they counted that the game currently has 22 flyers in it. So that's an awfully suspicious number. That's kind of indicating to me that they are absolutely going to update every flyer in the game.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
I can see some of Juice's rules theories coming through. If you're going to literally go out of the way to update every flyer in the game, you better come up with these new combat rules that have interesting rules.
Well, and they're definitely adding new stuff too. There's 2 new stats that are coming out for flyers called Pursuit and Agility, which they can use to outmaneuver or intercept other flyers.
I like where that sounds.
Yeah, so that could be pretty dope. And we already know there's some rumors about there's flyers will be able to get not automatic, but a second break turn. But it's almost like you're going to have to test for it. So you're going to break right or whatever and then see if you can turn again,
Basically how big your balls are, check.
Yeah. So they're talking about new missions that are going to be presented in this book that just focus on aerial warfare. So they're talking about some missions that are just dogfighting, that have no other stuff in there but flyers, but aircraft. And that sounds pretty cool, because that could be like the old Aeronautica game that was out before. And honestly, the all dogfighting thing, it kind of sounds like X-Wing, but at 28 millimeter scale.
Yeah, so, with big ass ships flying around on a 6x4 table.
They would be crazy not to interact with, stealing some of the
Fantasy Flight Games Thunder, because they've passed GW very recently as the top miniature company. So you would definitely have to. You'd be stupid if you didn't try to capitalize on some of that success.
But yeah, obviously the price point is very different. But if you've got the flyers already, why not put the rules out for them?
No, and to be honest, they now have seen an actual game. I can't say that Battlefleet Gothic is as even necessarily. I don't even know if I can describe it as a successful game. Obviously GW backs, and obviously but they moved away from it. This and this. They now see with Star Wars, with X-Wing, and the platform that they have. Obviously, they would be stupid not to kind of try to steal some of those ideas.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see that. They are going to have new formations too, with squadrons of aircraft, which are now led by something called a wing leader, which will get faction-specific rules, which is kind of like a warlord trait, which will give buffs to your flyers. And then they also have some kind of in the campaign. The new missions are presented as a campaign, so they have a way for your pilot to kind of get achievements, and depending on how many aircraft they shoot down as they progress through the campaign, they can become a flyer ace. So that's kind of cool, because it seems like it's going to be releasing its own kind of mini game on its own. What's interesting is that there's rumors also that this introduces a new phase to the game, like a flyer kind of phase in the reserve phase or something like that. And if it's limited to just this kind of standalone game, that's kind of not controversial because people could just play that standalone game of just flyers. But you know, with 6th edition, we had all the extra little books come out, like the Knights and the Stronghold Assault and all that stuff, and then all that stuff got rolled into 7th. And some folks are concerned that, you know, yet another phase of the game would slow things down even more.
You know, and again, my brain is kind of going a mile a minute on what I think GW could do with rules, what they probably will do. I don't see them adding a full turn or another phase into the game per se, as in just another time in which you roll. So you would roll for flyers before reserves. You know, I don't know if I would classify that as a full phase.
I mean, reserves is practically a phase of the game if you're drop pods. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
if all they did was, I mean, that I couldn't see it being too big of a deal.
No, but like, do I think it's going to be like a psychic phase or a movement phase like that intricate? I don't think so. I don't think there's enough that they can, you know, GW doesn't like making rules out of their ass anymore. You know, like, I don't know how they could swing a flyer phase that took more than seconds.
I mean, but GW is listening, so like it's easy to say GW does do this, does do that, but now we're talking about competitive Age of Sigmar rules all of a sudden. We're talking about GW showing back up and trying to do tournaments again. They're trying to bring hobby back. They're doing these amazing video games. It does seem like GW is trying to fix things. So I couldn't imagine them trying to do something half-assed here. It seems like they're really want flyers to be something, because the problem is that when flyers first started showing up at the end of 5th edition, they were broken because there was no restriction on movement. Remember when Night Sights came out?
Oh.
And like they literally could just do whatever they wanted. And then when they turned everything into flyers, the only flyer that mattered was Night Sights, so they were still the best. So they've never hit the splash of like flyers being amazing. Never took. You know, like people have always said, "Oh, what if they have flyers? What if they have flyers?" No one ever actually lost a game because somebody had flyers. You know, flyers couldn't interact with the overall course of the game if you had like 5 objectives on the table. So I could see GW really doing their best to make flyers part of the game, because it does make sense in the 41st millennium, you know, of armies facing off on a planet that you had to literally fly to. Like you want flyers to matter, and I think they might be doing that here.
Yeah, and that is a really good point, Kenny, because lately, you know, when flyers first came out, it was like mandatory take a Skyfire unit or something. You know, the Aegis gun line, I don't even know how many models they sold of that, because it was like Skyfire Interceptor. But lately, like in the last couple armies I've played, I throw in like maybe a handful of missiles with Skyfire, like maybe 2, just in case. And that has bit me in the ass when I run into, you know, a Flying Monsters creature army. But for the most part, I don't even acknowledge flyers as a threat. So it's kind of nice to see them come back and kind of reinvigorate, like, hey, yeah, flyers are still around. They're still real. Like, you're going to need to care about these things.
And they just have to make them good again. And then all of a sudden, now people have to start thinking about, well, how do you do with flyers? Like, that's not a question that really needs to be answered right today. But tomorrow, that might be a question.
I would like to say I'm channeling my Robbie B here. But ultimately, we got to realize that GW is a business, and they're going to make business decisions. And for the most part, I would say people that are playing and using flyers have had flyers. You know, I don't know how many people are going out and saying, I need more Storm Ravens. You know, I need more Hill Drakes. You know, if you see Hill Drakes, 9 times out of 10 is because people have owned Hill Drakes for the last multiple years. You know, because it's that one element to the game that isn't as popular or as maybe put as a necessity, because they've kind of been ignored since the end of 6th when they first came out, you know, at the beginning of 6th. So I can see GW wanting to do that because ultimately I would say sales are down.
Yeah, for flyers, definitely.
Yeah, specifically for the flying models.
Yeah.
Especially GW has learned they can make a lot of money just by printing literature and making us buy it. So that's a good business move. And then the trickle down of that could be we actually start buying flyers again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and especially if we start seeing points costs drop in a lot of the flyers.
yeah.
You know,
We alluded to earlier is like, are you telling me you wouldn't go out and buy 8 Storm Talons if GW says you can run them in squadrons of 3 for a total of 190 points for 3 of them, and they have strafing run and all this other stuff. Like, if they give me some cool shit, we're gonna buy it.
oh yeah, and I'm digging that new Space Marine flyer a lot. I like the way it looks, better than Storm Talon.
Yeah, the Storm Talon is one of the coolest ones they made, and now this new one just looks so mean. I love it,
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And earlier we were talking about, whether or not they would allow it for all Astartes, except Chaos, of course, because that seemed to be the trend with the new psychic powers. They were just like, hey, everybody can take this with the new 30th anniversary Marine, even though the rules said Space Marine. If you went onto the store, every Astartes army had that 30th.
Which
Space
is
Marine
crazy.
available to buy.
Classic GW not reading their own rules as they write them mistake, because we did go through very detailed on the podcast last week and determined what a Space Marine was. And when you go into like the Space Marine Codex, it says like unit type, tactical Marines, and then a tactical Marine unit is comprised of Space Marines. And so we're Devastators, but not Scouts and not Terminators. You go into like Space Wolves, it says, the Grey Hunter Wolf, the pack was comprised of Grey Hunters, not Space Marines.
Right.
So we're like, oh, very clearly this is Astartes only. This is like, Codex Astartes only. But when you go on their web store, they're literally like, it's for everyone. So
Yeah.
UW sometimes forgets their own language. That's what you get when you only have 3 guys writing rules and playtesting in one room. Hire us.
Yeah, 3 guys answering emails, the phone, shipping out and delivering models. Like, hire us, dog. Y'all need us on.
Minimum wage. We'd give you a week free, and then we'd take minimum wage.
Yep. Every 5th week we pay you.
Yeah, seriously. Charge us for our shovels, Like, I don't care.
You owe your soul to the company store. Yeah.
I would also like to talk about the Flyer Ace. I know we talked about it in the webcast, but like, Flyer Ace needs to be a thing. Kenny, we need to talk to big tournament organizers and events. It's like, yo, why aren't we allowing Flyer Ace?
It is such a cool. It just needs to. I'm totally all about like how the ITC basically digs deep and lets pretty much everything ride. But then, obviously they change some of the rules around to try to balance it. But I do like the fact that for the most part, they're like, if it's a rule that's been printed and hasn't explicitly been banned by GW, we're letting it like be a legal document. How come this just doesn't apply to Fighter Ace? Fighter Ace automatically, like you mentioned, people have 600 points of free rhinos. Like, let me pay 40 points for a Fighter Ace or whatever it is. Like all of a sudden, we talked about the Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage, the D-Thirster. You give this guy 2 greater gifts in Fighter Ace, he might have like +1 invulnerable save, reroll invulnerables, and 4+ feel no pain. All of a sudden, that guy can get across the battlefield and do work.
Yeah, he'll actually make it to the battle, instead of just dying on the landing.
Yeah, like I landed, got killed. Like that. It is, and obviously the NIDs have their own chart where like you can even leave the combat airspace when they start shooting you.
Yeah, at the beginning of the shooting phase, if somebody targets you, you can just fly off the board if you're within 12 inches, and you go into ongoing reserves, so you can come right back.
It's so good.
It's impossible to die, But like, is that any more broken than free 600 points of upgrades?
Or warp spiders being able to flicker jump out of line of sight of anything that begins to shoot them.
I have a competing argument for why maybe they don't use it, and it's like, you guys know me. I have a chip in my head. I buy everything GW, puts out. I do not own the old Skies of Death book, because when it came out, I was just like, it's like Planetfall. I was like, this is not something I need to play the game. It's just kind of superficial. Didn't have anything specifically for the armies I played, so I was just kind of like, I don't need it. And I feel that maybe a lot of people did not buy that, so a lot of people don't even know what the Flyer Aces are.
I mean, but then they put Fighter Ace back out in like the ball books.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Like, I mean, Tyrannid's got it in that book. I mean, it's like, yo, man, what's going on? They're clearly intended to be played with. It's just, I mean, it's what we talk about. Document management becomes
well, maybe with this,
task.
Maybe with this new book, if it has, because if they're updating every single sheet for every flyer, everybody's going to buy this book. It's going to be almost mandatory if you run flyers,
especially if flying monsters creatures in it, like we mentioned. Like, I can see flying monsters creatures being in it, and I can even see the Helldrake finally make it into this book, because that was one of the big debacles. He was in the original book. He was a picture in there fighting the Valkyrie, the picture from the Chaos Codex, but he wasn't even in there mentioned. Think about how awesome that Helldrake would be if he got some like battlefield roll, and he can like flip back 90 degrees after move in, mess up some ground units. And what if they made Vector Strike just actually good, like Juice was saying? What if he could like grapple with a flyer and there's a chance he can go down with it,
Well, one of the dirty things, and I hope they don't do this because it would just be amazing, but what about a flyer that could hover, but you still need Skyfire to hit it? I mean, because it's nimble as hell. You know what I mean? That would be tight as hell. I don't know.
Please, Helldrake, do this to the Helldrake. Only flyer that gets it.
I'm sure that'll go to Eldar. If they
first off, it'll go to Eldar.
The Hold Me Closer Tiny Dancer flyer is all of a sudden going to be able to ram another flyer, which is stronger than any Vector Strike. It causes D, obviously, but a Helldrake that has obvious claws for, landing devices. I don't know.
And also, I love the fact that this is a flying like demon Helldrake with a long dragon-like neck can no longer twist his head around and look in different directions anymore. He can only look right in front of him.
10 and 2.
Like, oh my God, I love that. I'm excited to see these battlefield rolls.
Yeah, because this is an opportunity to fix all that.
Yep. Agility, like if they're all going to have an agility meter, which determines like how successful you are going to be at like flipping back around at your break speed. I couldn't imagine Eldrick not having like the highest rating on that.
Yeah. It sure enough should. And also, to be honest, for any of the haters, we got some haters that hate on a Helldrake. Like, it obviously took its licks. It took them on the chin. It let it ride. Now it's time. It's perfectly acceptable to throw Chaos a bone and let's make this model great again. It's never not been good. It's always been good, and it's sitting right now at a 2 thumbs up. It's not obviously as broken as what it once was, or as powerful as it once was. But let's make some cool rules.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
All day, every day. Before we wind down, we're definitely going to talk about our sponsors and our promotion one last time, because just like you mentioned before, Juice, this is a business, and we don't do it for money, but it sure as hell takes cash dollars to do this every week.
Amen.
But we do recognize that we have to give people something in exchange for the support. We are bringing back the legendary Dice Bag of Infinite Holding, a.k.a. the Long War Dice Bag. It was a hot ticket item at Adepticon. It sold out. All of our extra bags, everyone wanted one. We are now pairing that with the Fat Sack of Bits. So basically, we're putting it to test. Like, how many bits can we jam into this bag? Well, you're about to find out. Check out spikybits.com/Kickstarter. You have an opportunity to buy this dice bag with a Fat Sack of Bits crammed into it. And also, new sponsors and new friends of the show. I'm going to let Haspel talk about them for just 1 second. Elric's Hobbies. These guys are true pimps. There's an interview up on the YouTube channel right now with Juice. Haspel, tell us about these guys.
Yeah, so this is like Steve and Tony, and they're really good dudes. They've been in the hobby forever. Tony probably has more stuff in his basement than Forge World brought to Adepticon. And I'm not exaggerating that. So they've been good, solid hobbyists for a long time. They are making really good bases. They don't use filler in their resin. They're using a high quality resin. Their base patterns are amazing. I wound up using their Cyberpunk bases for my Cult Mechanicus army, and it looks really, really good. Very, very nice. And I've known these guys for years. If anybody followed our Adepticon pictures and stuff, the Titan that we were painting, me and Dave Tish and I were painting, that was for Steve's display. And I was on Tony's team a couple times years past in Adepticon. So I'm really hoping for these guys' success. They have a good selection of bases on there right now. They're coming out with some more, and they have plans for other stuff in the future. So give them your support and check out their bases. They're really nice.
You guys want to know what the real definition of trickle-down economics is? It's a company like Games Workshop exists, and because of that, we all have the ability to like hone in our crafts and continue to make money based on that economic, boom. These guys are true artisans. They're holding it down, extending these bases for a game system that exists because GW exists. We need to support guys like this because they do augment the hobby and they do it for the love.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. The time I had to deal with them, they are stand-up guys that you want to interact with and want to drink beers with and hang out. Man, really good individuals.
No doubt. And I think that we're about done with the show. I know Juice, my man, has to get up at 3:45 in the morning now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ugh.
But I do want to mention we will be back with a bunch of new studio games here soon. We've been leaning on the Inside the Mind of a Tournament player games. People have been happy to see the studio games coming back. I promise there's going to be another studio game on YouTube here soon, followed by another Inside the Mind. But we're going to be right back to the studio after that. And I think when Juice's schedule opens up after he goes to the hospital and gets back on an IV and gets rehydrated and has his spinach and his sensu bean, he's going to be back in the Beats Lab all summer putting out sick content. And I do believe we have plans to play a game with the Adepticon team armies that our boy at Manbeard Painting painted, Zach, and
Yes.
we're going to show those showcases in a battle report, and those are going to be for sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys don't already know, it's going to be a couple weeks before you get it out, but there is we are now playing with models that are sent to us from painting studios and
the Army Exchange Program.
Yeah, even just you don't even have to be a professional painter. You can just say, hey, look, I really have put a lot of time and effort in my models, and they look badass, and it would be cool to have them on camera. Please hit us up, let us know, and we will get your stuff on.
We will shout you out. We'll throw logos up. We'll throw links up. We want everyone to benefit because bringing a hobby back is something that we have to do together as a community, and that's one of the many ways that we try to do it here at the Long War. Anyway, I hope Haspel has a very clever and nerdy signature for us.
I do, and I'm going to have to try hard not to do an accent, but we'll see. Ask me who I pray to.
Who do you pray to?
To Crom, but I seldom pray to him. He doesn't listen. He's strong. If I die, I have to go before him, and he will ask me, what is the riddle of steel? And if I do not know it, he will cast me out of Valhalla and laugh at me. That's Crom, strong in his mountain.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos,